Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Congresswoman, putting out a webinar, doing a webinar to help illegals avoid, I guess, apprehension, giving tips about how to continue to remain in the country and ultimately game the system.
At what level is that impediment? Is that impediment? Is that impediment? Is that impeding our law enforcement efforts? If so, what are we going to do about it? Is she crossing the line? So maybe AOC is going to be in trouble now.
AOC is in trouble now. You better believe it, even though she doesn't think she should be.
If anyone's breaking the law in this situation, it's not members of Congress, it's the Department of Homeland Security. It's people like Tom Homan and Secretary Kristi Noem. You lay a finger on them, we are going to have a problem.
Ah, okay. Well, you know, they have indicted one LaMonica McGiver. Where are you on that? I don't see you. AOC, you kind of went silent after this woman really kind of went to bat for the cause, shall we say, dressed in red. So that is the video, of course, that we've seen many times out of Newark, New Jersey, and worth reminding ourselves of in this environment where you have one AOC actually not willing to stand up at all for LaMonica McGiver, who she said, don't go near, don't you dare touch. And so they're willing to kind of fight this fight with a lot of rhetoric. But when push comes to shove, I don't know, as LaMonica's peeps are really going to be there for her. Again, AOC talks a good game, but ultimately she's running scared now. And she is under investigation. And this is a big deal. It's a big deal. As LaMonica found out, she's facing 17 years in the slammer.
I think the charges are absurd. You know, it's ridiculous. I was there to do my job along with my other colleagues. We have done this before. This is our obligation to do. It's in our job description to have oversight over a facility, and the entire situation was escalated by ICE.
LaMonica, you could have made an appointment, right? That would be within the scope of the job. The scope of the job is not to actually, get out there and try and muscle your way into the facility. That's not okay. That's not your job. That's not what you're supposed to do as a member of Congress. You don't have to take my word for it. Let's go to a legal scholar, Andrew McCarthy, well-versed on these issues. He explained it recently on Fox.
No, they absolutely don't have the authority to go in without the approval of the executive branch. The enforcement of the federal immigration laws is a federal responsibility. Congress has oversight of it. But members of Congress who are not acting as Congress, they're acting as individuals, they don't have any more right to obstruct the operations and certainly to create situations that endanger and in some cases reportedly have resulted in assaults on federal officials. They don't have any power to do that.
Boom. Okay, so it's pretty simple. LaMonica was way out of her skis. And AOC, in insisting that people band together like LaMonica did there in Newark, New Jersey, is actually encouraging the impediment of law enforcement. And let's go back to, Constitution 101. Who has the authority in this case? It's always the federal government. And we've talked about this at length, okay? The Supremacy Clause, the Commerce Clause, the Naturalization Clause. The federal government has the authority over who is here and who is not here in this country. It is not AOC. It's not these members of Congress. You have laws on the books, okay? Laws are on the books. And so what is the federal government supposed to do? They are supposed to enforce the law on the books, as Kristi Noem so brilliantly articulated, although it's honestly not that hard.
My only question to you, I'd say a question back to you is, which laws in the United States should be enforced and which ones shouldn't? I mean, my job, here's the deal, guys. My job is not to pick and choose which laws we enforce and which ones we don't. We have laws in this country, and they matter. If you want the law changed, go to Congress. When's the last time you went to Capitol Hill and told your senator or representative to change it? That's what they need to do. This is the perfect time for Congress to make a decision on how they want people in this country to be able to have an opportunity to come here legally and to fix this. We, as law enforcement officers and as a national security department and agency, my job is to uphold the law, and that's what I will continue to do.
Exactly. Okay, you know what? This is not rocket science. There's a law. you want to change it? AOC, you're welcome to try and change it, okay? But so long as the law is the law, you're actually now looking like you're in violation of it. Hence, the opening of an investigation into Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Tom Homan confirming there is an investigation going on about that alleged illegal staffer, and that there is an investigation going on into whether or not she has in fact violated federal law, in which case she would be arrested. I mean, they're going after the West Coast, right? You see them going after Los Angeles. They're suing the state of Los Angeles. That's new out today too. And they're looking to round everybody up and put them down in Florida into the detention center that has become known as Alligator Alcatraz. Yeah, it's quite a name. You know, the president was talking about it a little bit earlier today as he began his trip down to Alligator Alcatraz, and it made the point that they need some kind of system to work through. You know, you got all this red tape, and even though they've been proven right at even the Supreme Court level, right, in terms of the deportations that are now being allowed, and the canceling of visas for people, 530 some odd thousand of them that were brought here from Haiti, Nicaragua, Venezuela, and Cuba under the Biden administration. They're canceling those visas, but what do you do with them at that point? And that's become a bit of a challenge. So Ron DeSantis is offering up some answers and a little bit less bureaucracy.
This is we're offering up our National Guard and other folks in Florida to be deputized to be immigration judges. We're working with the Department of Justice for the approvals. I'm sure Pam will approve. But then I'll have a National Guard judge advocate here. Someone has a notice to appear. Biden would tell them to come back in 3 years and appear. Now you'll be able to appear in like a day or two, so they're not going to be detained, hopefully, for all that long. We'll have people here in this facility that can make, it's a bureaucracy. The president's got to deal with the bureaucracy. Now, that Supreme Court ruling was good because that's going to allow him to be able to exercise Article 2 the way founders intended. But you still have bureaucracy. So we want to cut through that so that we have an efficient operation between Florida and DHS to get the removal of these illegals done.
Boom. All right. So they mean business. And, alligators are quite an image, let me just say. As someone who grew up in the Northeast, I have a special fear for those things, so that takes on a whole new meaning. But the point being that they want to be able to expedite some of these people out of the country. And in terms of some of the national security concerns, et cetera, their hope is that they'll be able to do this in a more efficient kind of fashion. So what does AOC do with all of this? Well, she's trying to twist it into somehow that the GOP is totally anti-immigrant. Here's my newsflash for her. You know what? They're not anti-immigrant. The party's not anti-immigrant. The party is pro-legal immigration. So that means some kind of system has to be developed so that you know who the heck is in the country. Don't try and tar and feather them with this whole idea that they're completely anti-immigrant. I think that's insanely unfair. But you guys have gone the opposite direction, where you're all about open borders, are you not?
About how this is about illegal versus legal immigration. They are attacking legal status and removing legal status. The Republican majority is anti-legal immigration in the United States. And I want to make that very clear, and I yield back.
Woo! Okay. You gotta ask yourself, why is all this happening right now? I mean, I know it's Trump and everything, right? We know that Trump, ever since he went down the escalator and said, there's people that we shouldn't have in this country, here in this country, he has become a lightning rod for this. And so they want to go after him. And in going after him, they go after this issue. But they kind of make themselves look foolish in the process. I mean, Jasmine Crockett, you need look no further than the representative from Texas one, Jasmine Crockett, making some lousy remarks, trying to sell her constituency on why you need open borders.
So I had to go around the country and educate people about what immigrants do for this country, or the fact that we are a country of immigrants.
Right.
The fact is, ain't none of y'all trying to go and farm right now. Okay, so I'm lying. Raise your hands. You're not. We done picking cotton. We are. You can't pay us enough to find a plantation.
I know that's right.
Wow. So quite a way to phrase it. Yeah, it's quite a sales pitch. But you, again, need to ask, why is this all happening right now? Why has the left gotten so extreme? Why are they trying to argue for open borders? And it brings you back to this article earlier in the year. New York moves to allow 800,000 non-citizens to vote in local elections. New York City will become the largest municipality in the country to allow legal residents to vote if the election is approved as expected in December. Okay, so that's a pretty fascinating headline. And for everybody who's like, oh no, there's no way that would actually happen. Well, I mean, they were trying. If the appellate court hadn't struck it down, you would have had 800,000 non-citizens who were quote unquote legally here, right? Just think about the 532,000 that Biden imported from the likes of Nicaragua, Haiti, Cuba, and Venezuela. Think about that. Okay, so I guess you sort of legally are here because you've been given this pass, which by the way, Donald Trump just took away. And suddenly you're voting in elections. You wonder how this works, right? It's just math at the end of the day, unfortunately, but by the way, this is a big part of why Donald Trump won. Don't kid yourself, Dems. People aren't really into this. And let me go back to what the actual rules are. The actual rules are in terms of asylum, etc. And we got real rules on the book. 8 U.S.C. 1158 aligns with the 1951 Refugee Convention and the 1967 Protocol. To qualify for asylum, the applicant must prove two things, okay? One, persecution of well-founded fear of persecution, must have suffered persecution or have had a genuine and responsible fear of future persecution, and be with protected grounds. So you're going to meet both of these criteria. So one, you have to be fearful, right, of your life and the situation there, but it can't just be because it's a terrible place. I mean, there's plenty of terrible places out there. It can't be. It actually has to be on these protected grounds. 1, race. 2, religion, nationality, political opinion, or membership in a particular social group. So this is pretty narrowly defined, and yet they wanted to change it into something entirely different. Why, you ask, why? And look, I gotta, I hate to be so critical, shall we say, but you had 800,000 people that had a shot at voting in local elections that were not actually citizens of the United States. Like, what the heck is that about? And it's all being orchestrated by the same people who are on the Fight the Oligarchy tour. Fight the Oligarchy tour. In other words, they want handouts for everybody. They want open borders, and they want them to have everything that they could possibly want and need. I'm thinking about the commie that wants to come into New York as mayor. And then they have the audacity to get out there and ride around on a private jet. Here is AOC with her Fight the Oligarchy tour. And look at that. What do you know? Stepping out of none other than a private plane. Like, it's amazing how that happens. You're out there, fighting the oligarchy. By the way, she's getting caught in a total lie. We talked about this yesterday because she apparently likes to say that she's a girl from the Bronx, but turns out she's kind of from a Tony suburb. Very different place. Wow. Okay. Whatever, you know where this is going, okay? So they want to let them eat cake. Bring them all in. We're going to give them something. We're going to control the money. We're going to control the power.